know what I can even say after that intro. That was everything I was going to talk about, so you guys can all go.
You can say Ross knows best.
Ross does know best. So, I'm no designer, but Hannah, where are you? Hannah is. She works for us at the Braids. I said, Hannah, just make something nice to go at the front of this presentation. I'm terrible at presentations. So Hannah's going to die like awkwardly in her seat with what I put together. But she made two and I couldn't choose, so I just thought I could like flick and do that. I couldn't choose. So yeah, I'm all those things, but usually when I do one of these talks, someone will say, okay, cool, the topic is activating your brand, and then I go, okay, cool, and then I go and do a whole thing about that, and I put case studies, and that's very easy. When someone comes and says, it's just about magic, you can say anything you want, I'm like, well, that's how I feel. Literally, Hannah can probably attest to this. I've been sitting in the office for a week with this post-it on the wall that says CreativeMornings, and I'm just like panicking. I had this great talk with Ross, and we said, well, what should we talk about? And I said, well, there's like a lot of magic in the work that I get to do every day, and there's like a lot of magic moments that happen in my neighborhood and in my life, but who really cares about that? And we thought, well, how do you balance between the personal and the work, and kind of if you own your own business, it's one and the same thing. So I was thinking about what have been some of the kind of magical moments in my life, and I started asking around, and I was like, if you guys had to talk about this, what would you talk about? I don't know what slide is coming next, so if it's awkward, I apologize. So I texted a friend of mine, just never mind the typos, and she came back with this, which I thought was brilliant. You live magic, the ability to believe and create something that people feel in awe of. 3 elements. How do you weave magic through there? And alchemy, making something from nothing. That's what brands are. And I said, you're my life coach. And she said, yeah, that's cool. Getting people to believe, and magic is the energy that you wear. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is brilliant. I'm going to try to do my whole presentation around this. I love this. Because it is. There is a lot of magic in branding and in events and in experiences and sitting in a room like this. And when I came in today, I saw the chairs and I was like, geez, those chairs are amazing. That's like a little moment of magic. So I've been thinking a lot about what magic means to me. And I guess I had to write this down last night when I was panicking because I didn't send Ross this presentation. So magic for me is those perfect moments of coincidence that allow something really special to happen or start. I was thinking about that. There's a lot of just really random small things that happen. I was driving last week and there was a guy who was selling vegetables on the side of the road, and he had SnapScan to sell the vegetables. For me, that was a moment of magic. This guy had just created this whole business and he just taken it to the next level, and I bought it from him simply because he had done something so clever and so smart. And those for me are those little small moments of magic, and I guess that's why I love living in Joburg, and that's why I love living in South Africa, because I'm encountered those kinds of things all the time. So, I don't know where to point the clicker. There's sort of 3, so there's sort of 3 parts to me, I guess. And these, I tried to think about what have been 3 or 4 of the most magical things that have happened to me, or the most magical moments, or what has shaped where I'm at right now. So the first is the Anthea knows best, which Ross kind of just explained for you, and I won't do it because it's nothing anymore, I guess. When it was like the early years of Facebook, and I was working in Instant Grass, and like in those days you just used to put all your information up everywhere. You had no idea that at some stage this was probably a bad idea. You just like put your name, and then people started asking me a lot of questions. They would literally just inbox me. Someone I barely knew asked me where he should take his girlfriend for dinner, where he was going to propose to her. And I was like, okay. So the name Anthea knows best just kind of came from that, and we thought it was a bit of fun, so I kind of stuck with it, and we used it. And then I'll touch on how that happened, but another side of my life is kind of in the music world, with that guy, Stilo Magolide. He's a rapper, so that has taken me to weird and crazy and amazing places in the city and in the country. And I'll speak more to that. And the last is the Braid, which is my work, which is my everyday, although to be fair, these 3 things sort of make up my everyday. So I'm going to speak a little bit about me, and then we'll talk a little bit about work. So, there we go. So this is kind of Anthea Knows Best slide. And that photo that's on the left is me at Disney World. I was 8 years old. That's my brother. And that is my first memory of real magic. That photo was taken on the set of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. You guys in this room are probably old enough to remember that movie. But I'd watched this movie, and it's like basically the premise is the kids shrink, and then they go in the garden, and the ants are giants, and the plants are giants, and you can imagine. So I was terrified by it, but I also loved it. And so I get to this set, and I get to Disney World, which, as you can imagine, as an 8-year-old, would probably blow my mind now. But as an 8-year-old, that was magic to me. I got to this place, and everything I had dreamed of and I had seen was recreated in this space, and I'll never forget that feeling. I thought, this is it. This is how I want to feel for the rest of my life. Everything that I come into feels like this, and it's exciting, and it's amazing, and it's visceral. And the next photo there, and anyone who's ever worked with me or is my friend probably knows that face. That face is like, get me the hell out of here. I hate everything. So that's me at Gold Reef City. And that is something, my friend Quincy used to have a birthday party there every single year. For 10 years we went to Gold Reef City on her birthday. And it was like the highlight of the social calendar. And I hated it so much. And it's a funny thing, we were talking about it now, and it's like, it should be our Disney World, I should have loved it, but it just terrified me. And I realized that some things are not perfect, and some things really scare me, and sometimes I like to stand on the outside of stuff and watch it happen and observe it. So while everyone else was kind of really excited about going on the rides, all I could think about was these like ladies who were dressed like it was whatever you're supposed to be. And it was creepy to me, and I couldn't get that out of my mind. I subsequently learned that all the old like circus freaks or something worked there. Thanks for that. But that terrified me. So this was kind of a perfect balance, and these two photos really represent that for me. One is the constant seeking of that magic and of being able to create that moment, and the other is being the really quiet outsider in a lot of ways and seeing things that other people don't always see. So just a quick break before I get to the next stage, because this is really pivotal. So as Russ mentioned, I went to UCT and I was at university in Cape Town, and I started studying something, and I was stuck at economics, and I was terrible at it. And I went into the second semester and I picked up the course book, and I was like, I'm just going to choose some stuff that I think sounds interesting. And I found sociology, and I had no idea what sociology was. And I walked into the class, and I was like, well, let's just see, because when you're lucky and you're a first year, you get to do those kinds of crazy things if your parents are lucky enough to let you do that, or if you're lucky enough for your parents to let you do that. So I walked into the class, and we started talking, the lecture, and I was like, this is it. My mind was so blown. This is what I'd been wanting to know all along. I knew psychology wasn't something I wanted to do. I was like, it's too personal, and people got personal issues. But I was really interested in how people work in a society, how they work as individuals, how society works around them, how they interact with each other, how places that you grew up and the way that you're raised and the shoes that you wear, all these kinds of things can start playing into who you are. So there was that, and there was another side of me that really just loved popular culture. Probably in that other photo you see me like with the Nike hoodie and the shoes. My brothers are 10 and 13 years older than me. They were super into hip hop at that time. It was like the 90s. My brother used to record music videos, and I'd like sit and watch them with him. And so I always had these two loves. So one was this popular culture and just cool shit. I just loved cool shit. I still love cool shit. I loved it back then. I was 8 in that photo, and I loved it even then. And the other was me just liking people and observing them. And another kind of just magical moment was I happened to be at dinner with a friend of mine, and he brought a friend. And she said, what do you do? And I said, oh, I do sociology, but I'm interested in this, and I was still studying. She goes, well, why don't you come and intern at this place that I work at? This must be like 2006. Come and intern at this place that I work at, I think you would really dig it. So I turned up at Instant Grass, and I had no idea what was really going on there. And this was kind of like pre-crazy Facebook internet days. So what they were doing back then was literally taking those little flip cameras, giving them out to young people and saying like, go back to your neighborhoods, go back to your towns, take photos, just tell us what people are doing. And they'd bring all that information back, and we'd sit with it, and we'd look at it, and we'd turn it into strategies, and we'd go to brands, and we'd say, this is what people are really doing, like versus what you think they're doing. So that was a long time ago, but And it's funny for people to speak about their previous employers. I think no one does that, but this changed everything for me. I found a place that brought all my interests into one spot, and it allowed me to experience a lot of magical moments. I met people from places I'd never been to. I went to places I'd never been to, and they allowed me into their life. 10 minutes. They allowed me into their lives, and that kind of shaped how I did everything forevermore. So this was a real moment of magic, and it's how I got to be where I am now. So I'm going to try speed up because I've been 10 minutes already. So the second part is, you probably can't see this picture, but I came back to Joburg. I had no idea who anyone was here. And I had this office in Braamfontein, which was on the street. I was still at Instant Grass at that time. I was completely broke, and someone walked in the office and said, if you guys come out and take this photo quickly, we'll pay you 500 Rand cash. You just have to sign the release. And I was like, I will take it. I will do that. So we did it, and 5 minutes later, someone phones and says, not 5 minutes, but they phone and say, oh my God, I saw you on the highway. What? And that's actually, like, you can't really see it, but it's a photo. They used these images everywhere. Before the news, on the highway, on billboards. It was for the IEC. So suddenly I was like this face. Anyway, because of the coloring of the IEC, everyone assumed it was the DA poster. So I'm standing outside my office on the street, and this guy walks by, and he yells at me. And anyone who knows Stilo knows he really does yell. He's like, hey, why did you do that DA poster? That shit is hilarious. And then he laughed and went away. And then I received that DM on the bottom. Hey. You can imagine how the race went. But this, I really thought about this a lot yesterday because we've been working together for 3 years now. I work with him, I guess, as his manager, business partner, whatever the thing is. But if we hadn't had this crazy series of events, this random collection of events, we never would have met each other. I had no idea who he was. It took me a long time to learn about who he had been and all those kinds of things. But to me, that was magic, because it shaped the next 3 years of my life, and I think it's going to shape the way the rest of my life turns out. And every now and then we get to make a little bit of magic. So I'm going to play you a little bit of this video. We don't have too much time, but this is my favorite kind of piece of magic that we made together. He just started making music when I met him, so this has been kind of cool to see it get to this point. Saws. To merge perfectly in one moment, and that was what happened there. We had a client, we have a client called Bede, it's a champagne, and they were launching in the country, and they were like, we have no idea what to do. We just know, like, overseas Rick Ross is always drinking it, and Betty Wap, and everybody's like, Bede, what do we do? And we were like, oh, we can just give it to some cool people and like see how it works out. And that was the first time that we ever really like showed the brand was in this music video. So Stino was making this music video, and we needed a bit of extra budget, and we had the champagne, and we thought, like, how do we make all these perfect things come together? And that's how I got to go all the way to Mozambique. So I'm just gonna speed along. This is the last part, and I guess it's the most important because this is a lot of where my heart and soul is. And again, this was kind of another perfect moment. So you can't really see anyone in these pictures, but this is everyone at the bread. Getting this lift selfie perfectly timed is its own kind of magic. Russ came for one the other day, and we had to do like a few takes. You never know who's gonna open the lift, who's gonna stand inside. So you just kind of try to get all the famous people who come through at the perfect time. So I was working at Instant Grass, and Nick and Andrew. Andrew's with the big hair, and Nick's like the really tall one. You guys probably all know them. They had this idea. They called me for a coffee, and I was working at Instant Grass, and they said, "We've got this idea for this business. We want you to be like a creative partner, and you can help us like work out some strategies and stuff, and we'll just pay you freelance." And I was like, "Oh yeah, that sounds cool. Okay, cool." And I left the coffee, and I saw them again the next day, and they said, "Oh, you know, we really thought about this thing, and like, actually, wouldn't it be cool if you joined us in the business?" And I was like, "No thanks, that's a terrible idea. I need to earn a salary, I like things, I'm not about this life, like good luck with it though." And I sat back down at my desk, And I thought, actually, I'm 20, whatever I was at the time, 27 or so. And I was like, I don't have any children, I don't have a bond, I don't really have anything to worry about. If this whole thing falls apart tomorrow, then it fell apart, but it was a great journey. So I phoned them back. It was literally 10 minutes later, and I said, do you still want to do that thing? And they said, yes. And I said, okay, cool, I'll do it. And I didn't tell anyone. I phoned my boss, who is still a good friend of mine, and who's really been a mentor to me. I phoned him and I said, Greg, I quit because I'm starting this business. And at first he said, do you want capital? I'll help. Which is cool. And so that's how we ended up at The Bread. And it's been 3 years now, and it's been a really wild ride. The reason I wanted to end with what we're doing there is because I think, if I think back to that first photo of me at Disney World, and that feeling, that is a feeling that I hope we are able to create all the time for brands, for events, for people, for consumers, for anyone who steps into something that we're involved in. That is ultimately what we're trying to do. Create that moment or that day or that second of magic where you look at a picture or you watch a video. That's probably my time out. No, I'm kidding.
It's my time.
It is my time.
Shut your mouth.
So those moments when you're interacting with something that we worked on, that's what we want to do, create those moments of magic. And it's led us to do a lot of really amazing events. Hopefully you guys have been to some of them, and I'll end off by showing you two of my favorites. But this is something I was thinking about for something else we were working on. And how do we get to those moments? How do we get to that idea? How do we get to that thing that ultimately results in the magic? And this is how I always like to think about it. How do we marry the consumer, and we say the consumer, but people, brands, whatever. How do we marry what they want with what they don't know they want yet? This was hard for me because I came out of a research background. So first my brain was like, give people what they want. But it's not always as simple as that. So how do we take that? And then how do we say, what do you want? The brand, the client, the whatever. What do you want? What are your brand objectives? What is your heritage and authenticity? And ultimately, what is your perception of yourself? We take that. We take what they want, the consumer. They want to feel understood. Everybody in the world wants to feel understood. We say consumer, but consumer is just a person. Everybody wants to feel understood. And then you want to take, how do they perceive you? And ultimately, you just try to marry those two things together and figure out, how do we both win? And that's like the journey that we go on anyway when we sit around in the office and we work on something. That's the journey that we go on through our minds. And I try to take myself all the way back to that photo of me in Disney World. I have it in my house because it's a very profound moment for me. And that's what we're trying to figure out all the time. Creating context and understanding for, just replace the brand with something, with anything you want, where it didn't previously exist. So we've created quite a lot of what I believe are moments of magic. I'm going to show you two of my favorite ones, because you're probably tired of hearing my voice. And then, yeah, I pretty much will be done after that. So this one is the House of Vans, which was in Joburg.
Ain't nothing harder than a come up. See, I've been grinding since the sun up, and all I wanted was some commas to rock this Gucci in the summer. True buckle jackets in the wintertime. When I see a man, I just jiggy slide. When I'm in the club, I go money rich. Now I'm chewing doggies like a savage. Oh, I'm an animal. Oh, I'm an animal. Oh, I'm an animal. Oh, I'm an animal.
House of Vans is the biggest event that Vans has every year all over the world, and Joburg is the biggest one yet in the continent. You know what I mean? The numbers we've raked in the past 2 days are incredible. And basically it's an event to celebrate the 50 years.
I love this venue for the simple fact of it's non-traditional. The dilapidated building at the back, it gives you that feel of, you know, like rebels. I feel like Vans, it almost stands for guys who always went against the grain.
them coming. Never in the mix, cause they full of tricks. When they take the jig, watch them boomerang.
Well, Angle Banks is a spot in Johannesburg city that we grew up skateboarding, and it's quite a bust, so you only get to hit it a little bit now and then, you know. So to actually get to skate it like this for 2 hours is amazing, because I don't think I've ever got to skate it for 2 hours before. So.
And this was one that we didn't do for a brand. We did it for ourselves because we believed in it, because we thought it was something that everybody wanted. It happened just the street behind where we're standing right now. And it was a perfect testament to putting together the perfect group of people who know what they're saying and who are able to create what we believe was a really amazing moment of magic, both in Joburg and Cape Town. And it's the last example I'm going to show you. But it's sometimes kind of nice to see something that wasn't paid for by a big company. It didn't have to fulfill any brief. It was just what we really wanted to do.
Amazing reception. I don't think we've ever had a crowd like that.
Never had.
Yeah. It's overwhelming. People singing along and a lot of love.
In closing, I'm not going to run through all that stuff, but the biggest thing for me in my life up to this point, and in going back to that idea of magic and how it's created and how you know what the right thing to do is or how you figure that out. And for me, it's really just two things. One is all the time, never stop listening to people, ever. Because even when you're not listening, like something in the back of your mind is picking something up. And when it comes down to that time where you say, well, how do we do this or what is it? Remember that conversation that you overheard while you were having coffee of two people next to you. Listen to what people are saying. Listen to what they say on the news. Watch cheesy TV like South African soapies. Everything that is happening around you will tell you what people are thinking and what they want and what they want to do. And the other is keep your eyes open. And I think that's been the biggest asset of my whole life in being able to do this. It's not just that people are wearing the shoes they're wearing. Ross asked me this morning why I chose the shoes I was wearing. So you already see it. But every single choice that people make, in terms of how they look, in terms of where they go, in terms of drinks that they drink and food that they eat, every single thing that they do is telling you something about them. And if you keep your eyes open and you keep your ears open, and you figure out how to put all those things together, that's where, in my mind, you're able to create the magic. So I guess it's my favorite person. Oh, that was Baron Van Fancy, my favorite. So I'm so far behind, I thought I was first. And sometimes I try to remember this, because you do something cool and you do something great and you feel that you've conquered everything and you've got it now. But there's always something else happening that you don't know about yet. So just keep that in your mind the whole time. There is people younger, smarter, better, faster than you are. And unless you're open to listening to them and seeing them and understanding them, you'll never keep up. So that's me. Happy birthday, guys. Happy third birthday. Thanks to all of you guys for coming.